the last 2 years, South Africa and Mozambique. During my travels and my work, one thing I've come to learn is the intricate nexus between development and politics, because both define the organization of society. And so as life progresses, I've realized sharing some of those thoughts and ideas is one of the best ways of preparing the current and the future generations on the realities that societies must face in order to thrive.
So politics is our way of life. That's exactly what you want to say.
Human beings are social animals. Yes.
Wonderful. And just getting into today's discussion, you've seen what has been happening in the country. We have 2 ODMs. There is one which is holding NDC tomorrow. There's another one holding People's National Delegates Convention. And we also have some politics within the ODM. So what do you think will happen tomorrow during the ODMs and the NDC? Remembering that there are 2 actually factions within the ODM.
Well, I'll be, as an outsider, my comment on the ODM is simply based on my understanding of how social contracts are formed and how in our society we have built political ideologies surrounding the tribe. Right now, the challenges ODM is facing are challenges that have faced major political parties when their anchor founder or founding members left the scene, either by defecting or through the natural process. And after last year's demise of the former Prime Minister, this was expected. It was expected that at some point, the ideas that he had managed to bottle together through his larger-than-life vision would start to come out. And right now, us having 2 ODMs is just a demonstration of how our political ideologies as a country are defined. What do I mean by this? Ideologies, as much as young people wish that our politics is governed by ideologies, ideologies are either good or bad. We've had good ideologies that have propelled societies, and we reference those societies like Singapore and whatnot. We've also had bad ideologies that have caused the deaths of millions. We have right now, the world is fighting an ideology of Zionism, where negativity on one side is propelled and on the other side it is not. In Kenya, the young people mostly, and especially through their actions in 2024, fought against the ideology of tribalism by explaining to the government, we do not care who elected you. The fact is you are governing and we don't think you are governing properly. So now, tribalism within the political party called ODM is defined in a way that you have an old guard distinctly interested in maintaining the status quo. And they have looked for another dominant political outfit. And now they are seeking to unite the tribes upon which those parties are grounded to present a somewhat national face. And now you have another side that is also saying ODM was formed through protest. Without the 2005 referendum, ODM would not be what it is today.
Yes.
Now, because it was formed through protest, it was not formed by people who accepted to kneel down to the prevailing circumstances. They wanted a new constitution. They felt the document that came was not befitting of their aspirations. They protested. They went to an election, 2007, that turned out poorly for the whole country. They reorganized, and they have kept the party strong for 20 years. Now the young Turks in ODM are saying, why are we discarding the ideology that made us? And what is this ideology? I've heard most young Turks in ODM like Kasmel elaborate that ODM is a center-left political party with ideals of social democracy, and that these ideals transcend tribe. On the other hand, there is the reality that without the Luo nation,
ODM is not there.
The ODM is not there. So these are the ideologies that are at play in the upcoming NDC. Because let's face the fact, the old guard are presenting the picture that Raila left us in ODM. I mean, left us as ODM in broad-based government. You see, there's no ideology there except appealing to the tribal feelings.
So you're saying that ODM is some sort of a tribal conglomeration which now comprises of the Luo nation.
But that is not just ODM, that is all political parties in Kenya. That's why I started by saying political parties in Kenya are organized along the ideology of tribe. And there are many people who will say tribalism is not an ideology.
Do you believe it is an ideology?
I believe it is an ideology, and it is one of those negative ideologies that should have been left in the last century. Why is it an ideology, first of all? We must know that tribalism shapes worldviews, one. It dictates social order. And most importantly, it determines political behavior. Right now, as a Luo, even if I live in Nairobi, I've lived in Nairobi the whole of my life, I will celebrate the construction of a road in Kindu Bay. But not a road
back in your village.
A road back in my village will excite me more than a road in Nairobi
where you live.
Where I live. So it is determining my political behavior. So if President Ruto is developing Nyanza but not developing Nairobi,
you wouldn't care.
I would feel like I am involved.
But you live in Nairobi.
But I live in Nairobi.
You don't live in Kidube.
Exactly.
But you are very happy and contented that
Nyanza is being developed for the first time to Nangaliwa. The same way when Uhuru was president and he developed parts of central Kenya, there was a feeling among that mtu wetu anatufanyia kazi. Yet these people, some of these people who celebrated March are Nairobians for life. And another thing about tribalism, it has distinct features that are existing in many political ideologies in the world. One, there's a shared worldview. If both of us share the same name and we meet at a forum, or we have a name that suggests we come from the same region, do you realize I'll approach you and start speaking our language? Easily.
And you feel at home.
Exactly. Two, there is the idealization of the past. Right now, if you hear many politicians from Nyanza, when they appeal to the electorate, baba alituacha hapa, baba alisema hivi, mtoto ya Jaramogi, Luanda Magere, this and that.
Let me ask
that
you,
is the thing.
You say the NDC, most of the agenda will not even focus on ideologies. It will be about we were left in the broad-based, and others are saying no, we were told that it's until 2027.
This is what I'm explaining. The ideology is tribalism. The only thing they need to settle tomorrow is how do you centralize power within that concept of
tribalism.
Yes. And we feel shy to say it, yet it is the truth that the Luos will be represented there. Coastal tribes, which through Hassan Joho and
Abdul Samad, the governor of Mombasa,
they already demanded for the deputy president position as well. They were not demanding for these positions as individuals.
They were demanding for the
coastal region.
As a region.
As a region.
Right.
The communities in the coast region.
And when you come to the ODM, UDA discussions,
yes,
the question is the deputy president position going to Nyanza or is it going to
Central?
Yes, around the
Mount Kenya region.
The Mount Kenya region. So everybody is talking about their region. That is the ideology.
So when you say that political parties in Kenya are actually based on tribal arithmetic, we understand that you are a member of Labour Party. Do you also contend that your party also is built alongside the tribal strategy?
First of all, one of the reasons I chose to become a member of the Labour Party, and when I did make this decision, I strongly, and still do, if he was still alive, believed and supported the vision of Raila Odinga. I compared his vision to John Garang's vision in Sudan. John Garang never wanted a South and a North Sudan. That was the vision of Hassan al-Turabi. every time Raila compromised, in my mind, I felt he was compromising not for the Luo nation, but for a greater.
So you supported Raila, but within the Labour Party?
Within ODM.
Oh, you are
then when
ODM.
he passed on, after I finished my period of mourning, I also finished my alliance with the ODM. Business with
so
ODM.
let me get this right. So
the reason
you never
just a
believed.
minute. The reason I finished my business with ODM was when they started the tinkering with the system that was there.
Yes.
Raila Odinga never taught us how to kneel better. He taught us how to stand for longer. If there was an injustice, even if he was in government, he would still come and say it.
Yes.
But then you realize that it became a choir for everyone.
So you believed in Raila, but not ODM.
I
That's why you...
I believed in the vision of Raila Odinga.
Not
And
the vision of the ODM.
his vision was anchored in ODM. So for as long as that vision was still part of ODM, I was there. Since Raila passed, have you heard many people talk about social democracy? Have you heard people talk about workers? Have you heard ODM talk about workers' rights? Have you heard ODM talk about the ills in society since we laid Baba to rest?
Since
I mean, you guys are in the press
former
all the time.
The left.
Since the former party left, have we heard ODM speak to the issues that they used to speak for? No.
It has been a back and forth and push and pull on who
did I
is saying what Raila told him or her.
Everybody now has a story and screenshot of what Raila told them 2 days before he passed, but nobody's telling us the vision he left. Are we still protecting that?
Yes.
So this brings me to the Labour Party. I started shopping for a political party. On a serious note, and I looked at major parties and I said, if it is anchored on tribe, then this country is still not ready for ideas like the ones I have. And remember, it's been 20 years of recovering from 2005, the referendum that divided the nation and onwards. When I landed on the Labour Party, I landed on the Labour Party because it had very distinct values that are values that ODM had. One of them was the issue of social democracy. The principles of social democracy are within the Labour Party. The principles of championing social justice, workers' rights, as well as labor productivity are Labour Party. What Labour Party lacked, and I can acknowledge this, is that it's a small party. It hasn't had representation in a while, but it's still a duly registered party. So I said, I want to join something where I can shape its vision from an early stage.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Let's come back to the issue of the NDC. What do you think could be the fate of the leaders such as the embattled Secretary General Edwin Sifuna? What do you think will be his fate tomorrow as the leader ground faction continues with the NDC? He's holding his separate Linda Mwananchi NDC. so what do you think is his fate plus leaders like Godfrey Ososi, Kare Bamis and those others?
Of course, going with the fact that there is a ruling to be made today about if they followed the right, the NEC meeting, the resolution to remove Sifuna.
Yes.
They're going to be ruling on that. And of course, again, about the NDC, as he has said. So with that in mind.
I really strongly hope, first and foremost, that these leaders are true students of Raila Odinga. I doubt it because...
Even Sifuna?
Even Sifuna. If he was a true student of Raila Odinga, he would not have gone to court. The moment they let him go, he would have proved them wrong by forming a new party immediately and challenging the president. It is the president whose views he disagrees with most publicly, right? He says the president is not fit to govern. He says the president has ideas that are not good for Kenya. We need to understand, when Raila disagreed with his father in 1993, disagreed with Kijana Wamalwa after his father passed on, he formed NDP, he resigned from parliament and sought election in 1996.
So that is what you think
that is the first thing.
Done.
Their fate will be determined by the political choices they make after today. They chose the court process. Let that court process play out. Once the decision comes, even if the court says we are overruling ODM NEC,
yes,
Sifuna maintains his role as deputy, as Secretary General.
Yes,
he should come out and say, "Thank you for the ruling, but I still resign." Then
that's when he can get the relevance.
Otherwise, we won't take him seriously.
So as long as he continues to be a member of ODM, you're saying Kenyans at some point they may not take him serious.
No, not at some point. We don't take him seriously.
But he's a popular leader right
Being
now.
popular is okay. You can be popular today and still be unpopular tomorrow. But if you are grounded on principles of a truly democratic society, you must know politics is a matter of choice. It is the people's choice to elect him next time, in whichever party he comes with. But if he is clinging to ODM, then he's telling us he has no value outside ODM. We have to be honest about this.
You're saying that if he clings on ODM,
yes,
then he doesn't have any
he's
value
simply
outside.
telling us that the value he brings to the Kenyan society is anchored on
ODM
on ODM as a party. But if he wants to prove us wrong, both as an electorate and as peers he might meet in these corridors of power, he has to prove that he can stand on his own. And another thing, Edwin Sifuna is a senator of Nairobi County. Why are most of his campaigns focused on Western?
Tell us, why do you think so?
Because Kenyans and the Kenyan society has anchored its politics on the ideology of tribalism. He fears that Nairobi, being cosmopolitan, might not be as welcoming as Western, where he can be branded mtoto wetu.
But he has
Even now, ODM party members from Vihiga County, while rejecting the NDC of tomorrow, you know what they say?
Yes.
You know what they say? Hatupendi vile wanafanyia watoto wetu. But those are Kenyan leaders. If they want to behave like Kenyan leaders, they will be welcomed.
But we have seen them in Kitengela. The first rally was in Kitengela. They went to Narok. Just the previous meeting they had in Narok. As you have said, they were in Kakamega.
Yes.
They are planning to go to Tononoka. They are planning to come to Nairobi.
How many?
Why would you? And again, yes. They were even with Babu Owino, who is a member of parliament in Embakasi East, and is not a leader from, or rather, is not. His community is not from the Western region.
We have James Orengo.
We had James Orengo also in that meeting. So when you say Sifuna was trying to relate with his community, or maybe seeking protection for his career through his tribe, don't you think that one is maybe far-fetched?
No. As a political, I have an academic background in political theory. So allow me to be academic a bit here.
Yes.
One. I mentioned some of the negative principles of tribalism as an ideology.
Yes.
That makes it an unsuitable way of organizing a multicultural society like Kenya. One, it focuses on an identity as primary basis for political organization. Even other political leaders travel throughout the country. Ruto travels throughout the country. Uhuru does. Everybody that wants to be seen as serious does that. But where do they focus most of their resources? Now, we may not know because we don't have the receipts, but you can see the outcome. So the outcome for the trio, you've mentioned Edwin Sifuna, James Orengo, and Babu Owino, is one. Where have you seen most of the press conferences defending them coming from? Have you seen any press conference in Kitengela or these other places you've mentioned? But I can tell you, in the last 2 weeks, there have been more than 5 press conferences in Western Kenya. Oh, and was it yesterday or the day before? On social media, the Mulembe Nation were asking, sisi tu ndio tunaambiwa, don't talk to Ruto. The president appears in Siaya County and James Orengo is there shaking his hand. So already there is a feeling among the part of the Mulembe Nation that they are being intentionally marginalized. So now,
so you're talking about the political base. Sifuna's political base seems to be...
Sifuna is intentionally trying to shift his political base, not in terms of where he gets his votes, but where he knows he'll get the most support from. When elders were meeting the likes of Sifuna to talk to them, which elders were these? Fred Gumo, among other Luya elders. Why there are no elders in Nairobi who could talk to this gentleman about ODM issues? We are organized on tribal lines, politically speaking.
But has it worked?
Has it worked for him?
Has it worked for the country? Has it worked for the leaders who aspire to be national leaders, like presidents? Has it worked?
You see, before they come into power, it actually works for them very well.
Yes.
The confusion, and this is where as a country we don't progress that fast, or that far as we would hope. You are elected by a coalition of tribes. But then once you come to power, you now have to serve the whole country. Now, the coalition of tribes that elected you, naturally they want more.
They feel entitled.
They feel entitled, exactly. And that entitlement can make them feel arrogant the first 2 years of after election. We saw this with the former deputy president.
There was a famous phrase that actually even the late Raila Odinga talked about, that some of the fears that other communities had with him and the Luo community was that sijui angefika mahali waseme serikali inafanya nini.
Exactly.
So that's the entitlement you're talking about.
Exactly. And that entitlement, it does not come, entitlement is not a positive emotion. It's not a positive concept when you want to present it in a multicultural environment. But what I was saying is, once a president is elected, the coalition that elected him expects more. The coalition that did not elect him is ready to go to the streets tomorrow. Isn't that how we've been for the past 20 years? Now, when you have that, you are the symbol of national unity. You are torn between developing those who supported you and ignoring those who didn't support you. And eventually, all our presidents since Kibaki, let me just say, since independence,
Right.
the other two also deserve mention in this case. They always battled between marginalizing one place and building another place. And so political alliances kept on shifting between tribes. And the case in point is our current administration. When President Ruto was elected, the coalition of tribes that elected him were very happy. The idea of shareholding in government came into play.
Yes.
And then he realized if he really wants to present himself as a leader of the country, he has to also handle this other side that is already protesting. See, it took the other side 3 months and they were back on the streets with the sufurias in their head.
Right.
And you are not the president of Kenya. If Kenya is burning, it's going to burn under whose name? The president's name.
Yeah.
So our presidents have failed because they are elected based on a negative ideology.
Let's go back to the issue to do with the NDC. Suppose the political parties tribunal today reinstate Edwin Sifuna as the Secretary General of ODM. What are we looking at going forward for the party? Because it's going to, it might reinstate him, and then again the others had already decided to remove him.
Again, I would like to speculate a bit here. If the court reinstates him today, then DC can still remove him tomorrow.
Oh.
So it will not help him. That's why I'm saying his best.
So it's going to remove him. Okay, to actually they're going to be confirming, or rather
confirming the new leaders.
The new leaders, and also ensuring that the resolutions in Mombasa, February 11th, that resolved to remove him as the Secretary General. They go ahead with it?
Yes.
Are they not going to be having a contempt of
court? The court process will be done. It is being done today. It would have been a problem if
it had been done
if the
before.
NDC was today and the court ruling is tomorrow. But the court ruling will have been done, and instead of ODM protesting that court ruling, they would just have the NDC and confirm new officials.
So are you saying that Sifuna's fate, whether or not Sifuna's fate in ODM is sealed?
That's why I said, if he has to be the perfect example of an A+ Raila Odinga student,
he resigns.
He resigns.
No,
walks away, gets a new party, or joins another party, and proves to ODM that he's the better man. Remember, when President Ruto left ODM, he has no doubt proven that he was the better man, because he left and is now the president of Kenya. Sifuna needs to show us he has that capacity, that mettle.
He's a man enough to leave ODM.
Exactly. I mean, why stick in a house that you've been already chased out the door, then you go to call the
They
court?
don't like you.
He wants to force himself in this marriage.
They actually removed him and begrudgingly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In
And
fact,
he still maintains that he was.
even his replacement is working. His replacement is busy organizing for the NDC. Is rejecting.
Let me ask you, Simeon.
Please do.
One of the prayers in the Sifuna's prayers to the political parties' disputes tribunal is to actually postpone or to stop tomorrow's NDC, because the resolution to call the NDC was made on February 11 in Coast by the National Executive Committee members.
Yes.
And that particular NEC also came up with the agenda. And that agenda number 1 was actually to remove Sifuna and to replace the late Raila with Oburu. So are you saying that even if the court stops tomorrow's NDC, it is still going to happen?
Well, if the court stops it, then they would have to reorganize.
So if they
but again, and then again, this is again speculation on my part.
Yes.
But political processes cannot be adjudicated by the court.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they cannot be adjudicated by the court,
Yes.
it is not the court's duty to organize political parties.
So the resolution here is Sifuna to just get out of the party.
Politically speaking, his utterances, his views, his posture has been outside the party. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
His views and value system are no longer anchored in the party that Oburu leads. And if you are going to disagree with your party leader,
Yes.
openly, outwardly, every day, why are you there?
That's a good observation.
There are two options.
Yes.
Leave or challenge the party leader.
For you to become the party leader.
In fact, by now, I would have expected him, tomorrow, he's still a member, he's only been removed as an official.
Yes.
By now, he would have filed his papers as a substantive party leader. If he really, really wanted to make sure that he puts his ideas on the ground, there are people in that party who would still walk there and
the
say,
party is
yes.
as good as the party leader. So you believe that if he really wants to be at the helm of the leadership, he should contest for the party leader position.
In a separate interview that the ODM chairperson had, she said that according to the ODM constitution, the party leader is the presidential candidate. Senator Edwin Sifuna disagrees with the leadership of William Ruto. He is in the largest party outside government, technically. This party is choosing new officials tomorrow. I don't think there's anything in that constitution of ODM that says if we recently removed you as the Secretary General, you cannot vie for party leader. All he has to do is vie for party leader. If he believes, allow me to finish. If he believes in his capacity to deliver, all he has to do is challenge Oburu for the party leadership, win it, and then challenge Ruto. In fact, the day he wins, he can easily say, broad-based government is dead. Can you imagine how interesting politics would be on Saturday? If Edwin Sifuna ran for the party leadership tomorrow, wins, and announces in his victory speech that our alliance with the UDA is dead. Do you know how Saturday will be an interesting day in Kenya? But he is not taking this opportunity. Instead, he is in court. Since when did Raila Odinga go to court to fight for his place in political parties?
Okay. But now Raila has been a party leader for long, so fighting for the space.
Again. No. Raila was not always 60, 70 or 80 years old. There was a time he was 40. And when he disagreed with you, he left no room for misinterpretation.
You're talking of 2005.
I'm talking about, let's start with Ford. When he disagreed with
you know that Raila was
I
always
did not even insinuate that, but I just agree with
I'm just saying, for the period that he was party leader for long, he didn't need to fight. When he disagreed with his father, he left no room for interpretation. Even his father was shocked. Now, when he disagreed with Moi after New KANU was formed,
yes,
did he go to court? He just left and formed LDP. He said, si umechukua NDP.
Wacha niunde ingine.
Aliunda LDP and he made sure Moi was not president and Moi's choice was not president in less than 7 months.
Perhaps Raila's case, he was strong enough to do that.
He was strong enough to do that?
To come up with the party.
How?
Maybe Sifuna coming up with the party, or maybe whatever he's doing is in preparation to coming to having a new party.
Educate me, gentlemen. Have the rules for forming political parties changed in this country?
No, there is a way you can start with a punch. So Sifuna is looking for that. Maybe Raila had already had that.
How can you quote a giant you are not ready to emulate? Every revolutionary after Karl Marx that quoted Karl Marx made sure they acted according to Karl Marx's teachings. When Fidel Castro challenged the Cuban government and the United States, he used Karl Marx principles and he was
so
successful.
Sifuna is ready to use Raila's principles, but he's not.
But he's not ready to take Raila's sacrifices. That's my contention. And my fear is everybody following him is soon going to be disappointed, because as soon as the court rules whether in his favor or not, and then a day later, if it is in his favor, the party still removes him, he's still going to be Sifuna, partyless. And now the party can decide, wait, he has pushed the party, right?
Yes.
The party
so even if the court says that you do not follow the protocol or the procedure,
yes,
they are going to follow the procedure and remove him.
Is there anything stopping them? After the ruling, they will not be in contempt of any court. They can still follow the procedure and remove him. Now, here's the point. If he is removed as Secretary General, ODM might decide he has been a lot of trouble. Let us expel him from the party. Arudi kutafuta kura. He will no longer be senator again.
He will also lose his position.
His position. But if he was bold enough to say, ODM is no longer a home for us, we are looking for a new home.
He joined DCP or any other party.
Yeah. In fact, the person he's trying to challenge has proven a better student of Raila Odinga. When President Ruto disagreed with his party boss, he made a point nobody has ever forgotten. Yes, he used the same poor ideology I'm talking about, tribalism. He went back to Rift Valley. He organized Rift Valley very well, opposed the constitution. In fact, he opposed it so confidently until Moi came join. And then when the constitution passed, even those who were in government looked at him and said, we need that guy. And now Raila and Uhuru vied for his attention in 2013.
So are you saying that
the person who won him won the presidency?
You seem to say that, you seem to suggest that Sifuna's goose are cooked, whether or not the court saves him. But what about do you think the ODM, the cohesiveness, the unity, the pact, see, of this other ODM for Oburu, do you think it's going to remain intact?
That's difficult to tell. That's difficult to tell because political currents, they have just started raging. The tsunami is yet to build. The tsunami is going to build at nomination. ODM's litmus test, I believe, especially as far as Nyanza is concerned, is going to come when the nomination exercise is done.
Nomination exercise for
the next representations in this country, like for the next general election.
Or for parliamentarians.
Yeah, so this current rebellion is organized by political players, some of whom are no longer going for the same positions they've been holding. Some are not sure they will be elected in other positions. So even if Sifuna, Osotsi, and Babu Owino and Orengo become a problem now, the party can still mobilize and deny them those positions in the next election. But the question is the party strong enough to make everybody who stays feel involved? And the litmus test is going to come after this, because Oburu Oginga, for all his shortcomings, has proven that he's not as aggressive as his brother. So he might keep the majority intact. But if the nomination doesn't happen as people expect, smaller parties will come that will displace ODM in some places, and UDA is now engaged in a very fierce campaign in Nyanza.
In Nyanza region.
So they will make up for some of the seats they lose in Central by winning some in Nyanza. So I believe the litmus test for the Orange Party is not in this small fight.
You've said about UDA having serious and fierce campaigns in Nyanza. What do you take of Ruto's visit in Nyanza? And by the way, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was yesterday talking to the Luo Nation in one of the local stations.
Yes.
What do you make of Ruto's visit in Nyanza and Gachagua's subsequent interview to the Luo Nation?
First, on the visit by the president, there's a lot of positives when power visits you.
Power.
When power comes around. The only question is how much of the positive signs you see are real and how much of it is window dressing. Most of these projects are not 1 week project or 1 month project.
Yes.
Their projects will take years to.
They'll be felt many years to come.
Yeah, no, leave alone being felt, just the completion alone.
Or the completion, yes.
Yes. Secondly, our budgetary system has not changed. Some of these projects being launched do not have budgets aligned to support the project being completed. So they not only depend on the goodwill of the president's current visit, but any future possible visits. So I am a cautious optimist in the sense that, one, I consider the visit good. Two, I consider the visit political because 90 to 99% of the speeches were about their opponents. And that is why I think probably, and I'm speculating here, probably the deputy president saw this and the former deputy president saw this and said, no. If I let his insults go unanswered, people might start thinking I am as bad as he says. And he came and reminded the Luo Nation that for 9 years he was in central Kenya telling us Raila used to walk with snakes in his pocket. Now he is there telling you that I am a tribalist par excellence. If you people are not seeing the pattern here, don't worry. It will reveal itself after elections. So I feel like the current politics, as I said, defined by the negative, poor ideology of the tribe, is presenting itself in its ugliest form. One, we have a president who is quoting a tribe, not individuals. He's not trying to convince individuals.
Yes.
He's trying to convince the tribe that he's better. And I told you earlier, as a Nairobi resident, I will not celebrate a road moving from my house to town, but if I hear a road being built in Kisumu, I'll feel very much involved. Why? Because my identity, I feel my identity is there. So even when President Ruto wants to get my attention, he doesn't have to come and develop Nairobi for me.
You go to your
He
village.
just has to go and develop the village, and that is an ideology that, especially if you are a young Kenyan, not even young, if you are a Kenyan under the age of 50, you must defeat that ideology before you reach 50. Because if you reach 50, you will
not change.
You will not change, and you will be sitting at home waiting for the president to come visit you for you to see development. and again on Gachagua's visit to,
Gachagua's address to the Luo Nation.
Address to the Luo Nation, the interview. I think for the first time, and this is my personal opinion, he came prepared. One, he told us his story. I can fight you on facts and on a lot of opinions, but I can never fight you on your story. My role is to listen and agree or disagree. Two, he did not refuse his own contribution to the president becoming president. When he was reminded how he also used to abuse the Luo Nation. In fact, he only referenced that he was part of a choir and he had to keep the tune. So for him accepting that, he made the argument less about him and more about the current situation. So I think as a cautious optimist, we must be careful about narratives being peddled in a development context,
Yes.
Yet these narratives are driven solely to capture the attention of tribal entities within our republic.
And do you think President William Ruto will manage to convince the Luo Nation to back him and get the numbers from the Luo Nation, of course, using the ODM party that is being pushed to join UDA and form a coalition?
Well, he has He has the benefit of incumbency, one. He has a good head start. The late former Prime Minister already technically left us when I say us, left the Luo nation in his hands.
Oh, you're taking it up, eh?
Yeah, you see, even in my comments, you can see how I have owned the tribe.
Left us.
Exactly, left us. So you see, he has a head start. So
Right.
as far as his competitors are concerned, he has a head start. And the recent documentary about the stolen ballot of 2007 has not really worked well for the united opposition, especially Kalonzo to be specific.
Kalonzo's and Karua's and...
Exactly, Kalonzo and Karua. But mostly Kalonzo, because Karua was a PNU person. She did her job perfectly for her party. But the person that has shocked the Luos a bit is how choreographed Kalonzo's role was. So this has not really helped him. So now you have an incumbent who has a good head start, and you have an opposition that is still trying to find out, how do we access Nyanza? So
We're talking
will he
Nyanza,
confirm?
or we're talking about the Ruo Nyanza? Because you remember Kisii and Nyamere was part of Nyanza.
Yeah, Kisii and Nyamere are part of Nyanza.
They have seemed to have imeenda.
Kisii
But you know, he already said us.
Oh.
Kisii and I was-
think he put it right.
Yeah, I put it exactly. I gave context first.
The context was there.
Yeah, but also ODM was quite a powerhouse in Kisii Nyanza as well. But
And even Western region
and Western region. But you see, Western region,
is gone.
yeah, well, it's difficult to say it's gone, but it's possible to conclude that the type of charisma Raila had to pull Western into his orbit does not exist in the current political leadership of ODM. So if they are going to keep Western interested, then they must make sure the interests of Western Province, the former Western Province, are accommodated in whatever arrangement they are working with the UDA on right now. But now for us, and by say us, I want you guys to feel how negative tribal ideology is. You when you hear me say us, you're like, oh, okay, sir, nyini wale.
The Luo
Exactly.
Nyanza.
So he left us in
Broad-based.
broad-based. So right now, even me, as I speak against my feelings for this broad-based government, I have to ask one question. Must we say that development is coming to Nyanza because of some agreement? Does that mean in future when there is no agreement,
The development
development will not come? Does that mean we now have to kneel better?
and you were told to stand
Longer. Amolo would stand longer until the whole country says, sawa, unataka aje. And I wish Sifuna understood this. And I wish he came out to tell ODM, I will teach you what I learned from Raila.
You say that Ruto has a head start. President Ruto has a head start in Luo Nyanza. But looking at the arithmetic and the division within the ODM, we have talked about the Gusii region, we have talked about the Western region. We are now looking at the Coast region. Does this head start, how can this head start assist Ruto to on his re-election strategy?
Again, if we are using the ideology of the tribe, there's another concept we have to look at: identity manipulation. Once he convinces ODM, the faction that will remain standing as ODM, once he convinces that faction that he is their better partner, it is the job of that faction to go to the ground and convince the ground, right?
Yes.
Now, if you look at the signs demonstrate that he has. If you look at the Suna East MP, Junet Mohammed, a very staunch Raila ally. But now, in his public utterances in Migori, he said he does not want to hear village parties in Nyanza. Hapa Nyanza ni UDA na ODM. So he's now also giving UDA the invitation, come and vie in this region. Would such a thing have happened if Baba was alive?
No.
So now,
But will it happen either way?
Either way, because identity manipulation is already happening. Remember, in 2013, and this I want to reinforce my belief that identity manipulation as a principle of tribalism is very strong. In 2012-2013, a majority of ODM, and specifically the Luo Nation, still felt that at the last minute, the very last minute, the Kalenjins will disagree with Ruto and vote Raila in.
Because of their past.
Because of what we had gone through together 5 years before. Tuliona vumbi. They never did. Again, if you look at how that political expectation has been manipulated over time, there was the feeling, finally, the Kikuyu Nation are going to rudisha mkono in 2022.
Kwa Raila Odinga.
Vumbi ikakuja tena. So here's the thing. Political manipulation through political calculations through identity manipulation is not coming as an independent concept on its own. It is a principle under the tried and tested 60. How old are we as a country? 63.
64.
64. It is a tried and tested ideology of 64 years. So there's no way you can tell me right now that a majority of people in Nyanza are suddenly going to become clever next year unless somebody like you or me comes up and says tribalism must die.
And will the ODM party get to 2027 elections?
Yeah, it will, just without a presidential candidate.
And we
because have you heard them talk about a presidential candidate?
They're looking for the deputy president's position, and again that's where the issue again comes in, because there's the Nyanza region, or rather there is the Coast region that is pushing for their Hassan Joho, and then there is the Nyanza region that is pushing for John Mbadi or Wanga, and I think Mbadi is getting some more points in this case. And those two already have listened to the leaders from the Coast region, and they seem very convinced that they are the best suited to get this position. So if they miss out, and of course the Coast region is not being associated with ODM so much since the passing on of Raila Odinga, like the way Nyanza is being associated with the party, could they form their own party maybe? And again, we see a split. So my question, if ODM will get to 2027 elections, and if it will be national as a formidable and also a national party as Junet is pushing for.
That's why I said earlier, I believe their litmus test will be how they'll conduct their nominations.
Right.
It is still a party with some of the strongest structures in the country. As far as older parties are concerned, it is the oldest party that is still very active and with very strong structures. So if they don't bungle the nomination exercise, the trust within the party will not die. But you see, I have talked so much about ODM until now I'm wondering, are we ever going to talk about any other things?
Let's talk of Nico Kadi then. Let's just shift to Nico Kadi, the campaign. Because now that one will be very necessary again in the 2027 elections.
The problem I have with ODM is the same problem I have with
Nico Kadi.
So
it's like they're conjoined.
There is no direction.
No, the direction is just enroll. They are registering
as members. And to vote for who?
Yes.
To vote for who?
For the one who will be vying.
Yeah. Do you remember that was it June 25th? Yes. That young people went to the streets and almost brought down a government. Yet they did not have a government waiting to take over. We would be in chaos.
But they are leaderless and they are tribeless.
Exactly. So Nico Kadi is also leaderless and tribeless. The tribeless part is good, but you cannot replace the tribalism ideology with no ideology.
Are you saying these Gen Zs have no idea? No, they don't have any ideology.
If they have, they have been very quiet about it. If they have an ideology, it is a state secret.
But we have seen the politicians taking over that campaign. President Ruto saying, "Hata mimi niko kadi." Again, the former deputy president saying, "Ndio uko kadi, lakini red card." You see now they have taken again a very simple campaign that would have maybe rallied the youth. Again, now they're politicizing it, I believe.
Nature abhors vacuum. If I come up with a good idea but I do not have the resources or the will to implement them, somebody who lacks ideas but has those two things will implement my idea. I know we have a short time left, but here's what I have to say. Societies are formed through social contracts. Social contracts are not complicated things. They are simply fundamental and sometimes implicit or explicit agreements between citizens and their rulers. And this social contract defines the rights, duties, and obligations of the rulers and of the governed. It is through this social contract that ideologies form. Our society since 1963 was formed based on the ideology of tribes. Our nationalist leaders in 1963 organized in Kanu and Kadu, specifically elevating their tribes. 64 years later, we have young people who are trying to fight that reality. Rightfully so. But you know where they're failing? They have not picked even another ideology to compare with.
The young people are talking about accountability, they're talking about opulence, they're talking about corruption, and I think I heard them the other day say that they do not know who they're going to vote for now, because even the country is not in the campaign mood. It's not in a, yani hatujafika hapo kuuza sera. For now, what is happening under the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is the mass voter registration and the enhanced mass voter registration, which is happening, I think, next month. So are you saying, even after what we are seeing across the country, youth coming up in large numbers, registering as voters, are you saying that they are directionless? What do you mean?
Yes, they're directionless. Take a herd of buffaloes that are running. Take a herd of buffaloes. Does the buffalo behind know where the ones in front are going? They just know they're running away or towards something. Right?
You're
so
comparing
now,
Gen Zs with a herd of buffalo.
yes, and they need the buffalo at the buffalo at the head, at the first at the head of that herd.
Yes,
is the one that will define or decide where they stop. Because the buffalo ahead, if it stops abruptly, the others coming from behind will crash on. And this is what happened on June 25th, 2024. There was a drive to make a statement. And then they reached Parliament building and they lost their nerves. Why did they lose their nerves? There was nobody else to say, give a direction on what to do next. And then the state reorganized. Now, a stable society is good. Bad government is actually better than no government. So a majority of Gen Zs went home and said, wametusikia. But now, wametufeel. Right now we have time. There's a year and a half, and it's a month to the next election. And Gen Zs are waiting to organize themselves in what? August. Wanangoja wafike kwa debe ndio waseme tulisema Ruto tupigi kura. So who else is here? which ideology is that?
Among the
and then they will complain again after 2 months because the person they elect, if it is not President William Ruto, that person will come with their own program, right? If that program is not defined by an ideology acceptable to the youth, don't you think the youth will be back to the streets?
So what would you advise them then?
I would advise them to do the one thing we Africans are accused of not liking. They should read. They should study lessons of history. You don't change society by wishing it changes. You take deliberate actions
to change it.
Number one, there are many ideologies. Liberalism is one of them. Republicanism is another. We can go back to Mozambique. Mozambique was a society that was almost destroyed by the South African apartheid. After Samora Machel defeated the Portuguese militarily in the battlefield, and he became the chairman of the First Republic. And then a young 27-year-old was convinced that his tribe was overlooked, and he launched a rebellion. Samora Machel told them, if Mozambique is to live, the tribe must die. They killed Samora Machel in 1986. Mozambique is still alive. Because 5 years later, they signed the first peace agreement. They agreed. Tribes are there. But we have to agree on the ideology that works for the country. Frelimo is still the party that holds the ideology of Mozambique to date. Tanzania, with all its shortcomings, especially the last election, is still held together by Ujamaa. And you've not heard Tanzanians cry about Ujamaa. Even when they were against Hassan Suluhu, they were not against Ujamaa. But here, every time Kenyans complain, haki tribalism ni mbaya. Until it benefits them.
Itatumaliza.
Itatumaliza. Tribalism itatumaliza.
So
unajua barabara imejengwa kwini. Yenyewe rais amefanya kazi.
Amepiga kazi huko.
So
we go back to our tribal concerns. Those are the ones that are messing us up?
Extremely. Let me tell you something. If we continue on this path, we are going to be having this conversation every week until it becomes boring. Because we will be saying, you know, today we are talking about President Ruto in Nyanza, right? Why is it that it is a big news when he goes to Nyanza and not big news when he goes to Northeastern or when he goes to Rift Valley?
Why is it?
Because the perception that he is looking for votes there. And that perception has some reality in it because of how he talks.
So, Ebu advise the youth, other than registering themselves as voters, what else do they need to do to ensure that they get the changes they wish?
Study history. Find an ideology that has worked. The
Register or form a political party?
They don't have to register for a political party. Political parties respond to the needs of the people, right?
They just need to choose among the
political parties will see what the needs of the people are. Right now, all our major political parties are focused on tribe because they feel that is the source of identity we have clung to so much. Let me be honest with you. Today, with your name, go to your community where a certain political party is perceived to be unpopular. Try to market that party. Ukirudi hapa bila mawe kwa kichwa, I will say you are a very strong person politically. And we both know this as a reality. We know it is bad, but we also feel like, hey, we can't change this. The worst part is when you see, when we were being told, Raila has Gen Zs, Ruto has Gen Zs. Just because these other Gen Zs were in the streets doesn't mean Ruto's Gen Zs also supported you. What were they saying? That there are young people in tribes supporting Ruto that would not agree with the June 25th protest. So we have to understand, young people need to know which ideology can replace tribalism. You will never replace tribalism with wishful thinking. Tribeless youth is wishful thought. All those youth have tribal names, number one. Number two, all those youth claiming they are tribeless, already have formed opinions about some other tribes. And as they grow up, yes, you want to tell,
I have not heard them talk about tribe.
You've not heard them talk about tribe.
Yeah, they are tribeless.
Do they have to mention, they talk about, the moment you want to tell me you are tribeless, it means you've identified things about tribalism that you don't like.
That's why you're tribeless.
Exactly. If I want to say right now, I am not tribalistic. It means I already know the principles of tribalism that I don't identify with. Right? So what am I replacing them with? One, if I'm saying, for example, I prefer the whole country to be developed equally.
Yes.
Not just my own region. And then ufike kwenye upate kuna barabara ya kwenye ingine haijatengenezwa for 60 years.
Unakumbuka tena.
Unakumbuka tumejajaswa hii nchi. Let me tell you, every idea starts with an ideal worth protecting. As it grows, it needs counter ideologies. Maybe when this country was formed, tribalism was a good thing. Maybe. But especially for the last 20 years, if anything, it has taught us that we can kill each other out because of tribe, right? That we can deny some counties and regions resources because of tribe. That jobs in government can still be given on tribal grounds. How do we kill this animal called tribalism? We challenge it using another better formed political ideology. And the youth, because the good thing is, if you are 25 and below, congratulations. Nature has defined that you are likely going to live longer than all of us. Yeah. So if you want to live under a tribal system for the next 60 years, good luck.
Ashani, how old are you? We know if the nature has decided on how long we are going to live.
If he's below 25,
yes.
According to actuarial science, And according to the law of nature, I am 38. If he's below 25, it is expected he will live longer than me. So he will live under bad government for longer than me.
Something I know.
Yes.
Being below 25 is not. So definitely.
So then let us address those who are below 25.
Yes.
Number one, pick a history book. Study. I can give you examples. From all from history's great leaders to history's terrible leaders. But if I restrict myself to Africa, study Samori Ture, study Samora Machel, study Thomas Sankara, Menelik, study even Bedel Bokassa, that crazy president from Central African Republic. Study Kwame Nkrumah. Ask yourself, were these men listened to because they were African or because they had ideas to move us forward?
Wow.
And did these men support tribalism? Study Julius Nyerere. They may have succeeded and failed in other areas, but one thing you can never accuse them of is not being visionary. And then come out here, register as a voter, knowing very well, unless I see principles of social democracy, unless I see principles of justice, unless I actually hear you talk about justice, you're not getting my vote. Because otherwise, you will replace the president you want to replace with another president you did not want. And then you will complain about that president 3 months down the line.
Thank you so much, Bwana Simeon. I think time is not with us.
Then he has actually told us much that is not filtered.
Yes.
That was the idea.
Especially the part of the road. You always remember your road from your Kindu
I think
Bay.
the president must have constructed a road
to
your
Kindu Bay.
home.
No. So you see the road passing my home.
And your home is?
My home is in Kisumu County. It's the Awasi Ahero.
Yes.
That section. The road was constructed just right after independence. If you talk to old people, because it's an international highway, if you talk to old people of the 60s, you know what they say? That road was built by Tom Mboya. So you see, even though the president was Jomo Kenyatta, he's the one who signed the budget, but we still wanted to fill our own.
I'm pushing for it.
Exactly. And that's the same thing. If the road to my former primary school is constructed today, I will even go there and take a picture.
Then say I schooled here.
I schooled here.
Thank you
Alma
very much
mater.
for giving us those insights.
Yes.
And of course, we'll keep inviting you more and more interviews here as we look at what is happening in the country, because as you put it right, 1 year and some few months to the election, so there's a lot that is going to be changing now and then. And even after ODM, UDA sit down and have discussions, maybe even united oppositions will keep inviting you. But we are going to end it there. My name is Daniel Kariuki, and we thank you very much for coming. I'm Daniel Kariuki.
Yes,
have a good time.
Is it evening?
Yeah, it's evening. I think.
Even as we monitor the political situation, let's just see how tribal calculations are even defining the reporting on elections. You'll realize how cooked we are unless we find a better ideology to replace this one. Because that is going to affect us, our children, our grandchildren, the same way it affected our parents and grandparents.
Thank you.
Today, people still cry about the death of Tom Mboya in Nyanza.
Thank you. That's it. I'm yours, Ndongo Gachane.
Unfiltered with Ndongo Gachane and Daniel Kariuki.